ready? You got me running, got me running. Shake it, shake it, shake it, baby. Raise your hands up. Raise them up. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the After Dark show. How have you been? This is your host, Yvonne Michelle. Excuse me, from YvonneMichelle.com. I am an international speaker, coach, and I'm also an author. And so you are here and I'm presenting this show as always. I am here to present the show for you today. And have we got a very interesting show this evening? Yes, we do. But before we get into anything, I'm going to ask you to share. Share, and share again this with all of your networks. So as I'm talking to you, I am going to be sharing mine also. As I always do, I share it to several pages, and then we get on with the show. So as we are doing this, I'm going to ask you to share. Share. Here we go. So as you know, this is the After Dark show. This is the adult relationship show that goes behind the black curtain. We unpick, we unravel, we look at the things that people want to talk about, maybe in the barbershop, maybe in the hairdressers, but not normally on these kind of platforms. We are going to deep dive into it this evening, and we have, this is Red Letter Tuesday, guys. It's Red Letter Tuesday. Yes, it is. Are you ready for it? I'm looking for my keyboard warriors this evening, because we're going to be specifically asking you for your thoughts on this subject, because it is quite a hot topic. It really is. When I put this out to the panel, they were like, "Ooh, this is a topic." It certainly is. So as I do this, there we go. There we go. As I do this, it comes up. I'm going to turn that down. Yes. And I am going to share this. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to copy the link and then I'm going to put it on. So there you go. I am doing this with all of my networks. I want you to do the same. Now, today's topic. Are you ready for it? Well, if you have seen on Facebook, you would know that the topic of tonight's subject is "You're Not My Dad." You're not my dad. Now, this is an adult relationship show, and we deal with all kinds of relationships. It could be relationships within a couple. It could be relationships within the family. It could be relationships, what your relationship is with money, what your relationship is with death. We deal with every kind of relationship. So I'm just going to say good evening to those who are joining us on YouTube, those who are joining us on Facebook this evening. Nevada Cato, good evening. Faye Thomas, good evening. Lolly, good evening. Those of you who are on the chat, make yourself known. Just let me know who you are and where you are listening from. Yes. Do that. As I can see you guys starting to come in to the room. Yes. So today our topic is "You Are Not My Dad." Oh my days, what could that mean? But before we go any further, I am going to introduce to you, I'm going to bring in some of the Lolly Rollins says she's ready. I'm going to bring in some of those who are in the green room. So welcome them in. Can you bring in those who are in the green room this evening for me?
Good evening.
Good evening, Faye. How are we this evening?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Brilliant, brilliant.
In fact, I'm a little bit anxious because of the trial.
Right, so you've been watching the trial, right?
Yeah, verdict's in today. Verdict's in right now, actually. It's coming
right
in.
now. Right now.
Yes.
So you're going to give us an update, right? Yeah, you got permission to give us an update on that as soon as it comes in. I want to know what's going on myself, so I'm interested to know. And we got the gorgeous Karen here. Hi, Karen.
Hello, good evening, everybody.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm kind of like shielding myself from the energy of the trial.
Yes, I understand that. It's a big moment for us, I think.
I just couldn't watch any of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It really, really is. And although that's not the topic that we're on about today, we cannot ignore what's going on in the world. We cannot. It's a big case. We know that George Floyd was murdered in public view, broad daylight. He lost his life. And so I think everybody around the world is interested to find out what exactly is going to happen now, what the verdict is going to be. So let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see what happens. But I tell you, when the news comes in, we want to know. We want to know. Right. So thank you, Lolly Lorraine. She said, good evening, beautiful, looking fab. Thank you very much. I think all of us queens look gorgeous tonight. We really, really do. And hello, Facebook user. Facebook user, the one who's saying hello, if you look at the top of the link that you are on, it will say something about StreamYard. And if you just click that link, then you give us permission to see who you are, and then we can give you a shout out as well. All right, so is there anyone else in the green room? If not, we're going to move on, and we are going to go with what we've got this evening. Okay. They're saying actually here on time for once. Oh, has it come through, Faye? I
think he's been found guilty.
He's been found guilty?
Yeah, he's been found guilty.
Okay. Fantastic. And what does that mean? What does that mean?
Because there's 3 charges, but I can't hear all 3. So let's get on with the show.
All right, we're going to get on with the show. We're not going to hold it up any longer. Yeah. Angela Koza, good evening, all the way there in the US of A. I know Angela is there. So good evening to those who are watching. Okay, so tonight is the red letter. We have a smaller panel tonight because we want to dig deep into this subject. Right, so if Theo comes, pop him in for me, please. Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing the link. Share. Don't keep this to yourself, but share it. Okay, so I am going to read out. Are we ready for this letter? Right. Angela's saying they found him guilty. Look, they've got the hands out. We just need to give it a moment. I think we just need to give it. This is going to go down in history. It's not something that we can ignore, really.
They've just taken him away in handcuffs as well, which is great.
So he's got guilty on all 3 counts.
All 3 counts. Well, this is what I'm thinking. It's all 3 counts, but they haven't been specific yet.
Okay.
And
yeah. Okay. So that's. Woo. For those of you who are just coming in, you have not missed anything right now. We have been, we've got everybody looking at this court case, the George Floyd court case, and the police officer has been found guilty as charged. Right.
I hope it's all 3 counts. That means he's never coming out.
He needs to stay where he needs to stay in the pit, in the bottomless pit.
Yes.
That's where he needs to stay. Good evening, Delroy. I haven't seen you for a while. I hope you're well. Lolly Lorraine, the other one. I can see you there as well. Oh, Angela Close is saying on all 3 counts he's guilty. Okay, thank you very much for the update. Yes, do found guilty on all 3 counts. Hilda Campbell is saying, thank you guys. Just give us the information. We're going to
Great
get
stuff.
the show started. But like I say, to George Floyd, may his soul rest in peace, man. Justice.
No, drink around here.
You don't have no drink around there?
I'm gonna get a drink. I'm gonna get myself a juice.
Right. Oh, Theo's going to get himself a drink. We're going to listen. We're going to do this thing right. It's impromptu. We didn't plan this. We didn't know that the verdict was going to come in today.
No.
So let us just take a moment, because a man has lost his life, and this show is all about relationships. It's all about relationships. And so, let's just take a moment. Are you all right there, Karen?
Yeah, it's just taking me back to the moment when I saw the video originally.
Yeah.
Is my sound okay?
Your sound's all right.
Yeah, it's just taking me back.
Yeah. You can see.
But yeah, when you're ready, I'm ready.
That's better.
Okay.
Okay. Cecile Terrellon saying the topic sounds very interesting. Oh yes. Hello Halima, how you doing? Michelle, how you doing? Patrick Solomon, how you doing? Yes. So relieved, so emotional, emotional. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so we're going to just take a moment. You guys can, if we're going to just take a moment, we're going to just raise our glasses to the memory of George Floyd, who lost his life for no reason. So to George Floyd, and that justice is served, may he continue to rest in peace.
Amen.
George Floyd.
It's not an easy situation at all.
It was for a reason, Yvonne. We had the whole world turned upside down because of it.
Well, the murder was pointless,
Yeah,
but it did make the whole world rise up. Yes, it did.
Upside down and
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely right. So I can hear Telly's in the background. So if we can put it on silent, that would be great. We're about to get into the show. So guys, the show, you're not my dad. You're not my dad. This is the topic of today's red letter, and this letter is hot. So I'm going to begin the show by reading this out to the panel, and we're going to sit and discuss. Now, I do want to put it out there to our keyboard warriors. Be ready, because we want your comments. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know how this has affected you. We want to know if you've ever been in a situation like this. What did you do? What was the result that you got? Absolutely. Linda Jacobs says justice for George Floyd. Absolutely. We're going to get a lot of that tonight. Okay. So here we go. Here is the letter. Tuesday's red letter. My children are making me choose my man or my kids. I've been living with my boyfriend for just over a year. We moved in together at the start of the pandemic. I love him, we get on well, and he supports me in everything I want to do. We have been together for 5 years. I have 3 kids, aged 7, 9, and 13, who are not his. He has a daughter who comes to us 6 days in every 14. He co-parents. We both work. I work at the hospital. My partner has been working from home, which has worked well for us. Well, or so I thought. Recently, my partner has been complaining. We split housework and bills 50-50. My kids have housework to do, but don't always do it properly. They were home with him during the day while they were being homeschooled, and all hell was letting loose in our home. because my boyfriend was complaining and telling them off because he says they're constantly eating, making a mess, and causing disruption to the house. He also says they are rude to him. His child, by the way, does no wrong. I thought that when the children went back to school, it would right the situation. And in fact, it has got worse. It's got out of hand. The last time he said something to my eldest child, who is 13, she told him that he had no right to speak to her and that he is not her dad, and walked off and ignored him. My boyfriend then had a go at me. I tried to diffuse the situation. I spoke to my daughter, but she refused to apologize because she says he's constantly comparing her to his daughter and focuses on everything she does wrong and doesn't see what she does right. Because of this, he says my kids are rude, have no manners, and I do not have any control over them. Just a few days ago, my partner and my middle son, who is 9, and he is very gentle and sensitive. 9 years old, has a very gentle, sensitive nature. They got into an argument. My son said that my partner is a bully and says unkind things to him. My son told him that he did not like him and that he was going to tell his dad. Now, my child's father is a good dad, but was a terrible husband. He used to beat me, so I ran away with the kids. He sees them every other weekend, but I'm scared that him and my partner will clash over this. At present, my partner is not speaking to me. I have ended up sleeping downstairs as my partner thinks I need to discipline my kids. My kids are upset with me and hardly speak to me, especially my daughter, as they think I put my boyfriend before them. I love my partner and I love my kids, and I need your advice. I do not want my kids mistreated, and I will not tolerate them being disrespectful to him. I have no clue what to do right now. I feel I'm in the middle. Please help. Anonymous. So, as you can hear, it's quite a comprehensive letter, which I found quite interesting for many reasons. But I want to come back to the panel now who have heard the letter. And let's discuss. Those of you who are on Facebook, those of you who are on YouTube, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Let us know. Do you think she's wrong? Do you think her children have put her in the middle? Or do you think her partner's wrong at this state? What are your thoughts? I'm going to go to the panel. So guys, you've heard what the issue is. And I think that there must be many families, blended families, who go through situations like this. We've got Facebook user says, sounds to me like the bloke is looking for a way out of the relationship. A toxic relationship needs to end, simple as. Okay, guys, what do you think? What do you think? Do you want to come in? Faye, do you want to come in first?
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with the Facebook user that it's a toxic relationship, because I've obviously been together for 5 years. So it's only since the partners moved in. And obviously with the situation with COVID, the children had been at home, they weren't at school. So there were a lot of things that probably contributed to the breakdown of communication and relationships in that household. My first suggestion is in relation to all the adults concerned. So the lady, her partner, and the father of the children, maybe to get together to have a conversation about what's gone on, and to try and just thrash out some things initially, and maybe then there's a conversation to have with the children as well, where everybody's allowed to speak and speak their truth in that. So I think initially that's what needs to happen.
Okay, thank you for that, Faye. Karen, I'm going to come to you.
I actually agree with Faye pretty much 100%. I would say that I have the potential or have been in a similar situation. And you do quite quickly find yourself stuck in the middle, especially if you find the relationship between you and your partner to be going quite well, because she's actually not said anything adverse about the partner himself. And this has happened since lockdown, by the sounds of it, which is a very stressful situation. And I agree with Faye as well, where I would say I would go and speak to the children's father, probably at this stage, because she's had a bit of a chat with everyone else so far. I would go and speak to the children's father, because I would need to gauge where his mind is in regards to the kids actually coming back and saying things to him as well. Because you don't want to get a situation where the father is then poisoning the mind of the children, because it's not always a situation where the relationship is actually toxic. I don't really get that feeling from what was said. I still think it is something that should be able to be resolved, but everyone does need to be heard. Everyone has to have their say, and probably think about some kind of counseling or an external person to come in and have a chat with the family. Could be just the mum and the kids alone, could be the kids alone, probably not with the partner at this stage, because I think that the children need to have an understanding that, you know, what mum says pretty much goes. Of course, we are always, you know, as single mothers, very aware of an external factor coming in, and we also have to be very careful that our children aren't abused, you know. So we, you know, we're like standing on in tenterhooks all the time, and it's not an easy decision for most mothers to let somebody else come into them and their children's lives. So by the sounds of it, it doesn't sound as if this is something that shouldn't be able to be resolved. But everybody needs to have a say. Everybody needs to be pretty much respectful. Yes, he is not their father. However, I would not allow my children to be as rude as that if it's something such as maybe, you know, not really thinking and comparing his child to their to her children, or, you know, maybe they're not having the same, you know, standards in regards to cleanliness and chores and stuff like that. I think there needs to be more of a rule situation whereby, you know, he's telling you something for the betterment of the whole family. You know, it's not just about him trying to pick on you. So I think that everybody needs to be able to have their say, put it all out, and to try and reach a resolution that way. It's not an easy thing, but I don't think it's toxic at this stage.
Thank you for that, Karen. I like that. Thank you so much for all those comments. So, Theo.
Good evening. It's interesting, very interesting. I think the problem was from the start, they didn't sit down and talk. I don't know how the guy was introduced into the house or anything. So if you just lock down and bam, he's moved in, and then you've gone off to work and just left him at home with the children, I don't know what was said at the start, because how you introduce to somebody is how this relationship, because they've been together for 5 years, so obviously they know the guy. They know him very well, but obviously never spent as much time with him, because spending 24/7 with somebody is a whole different ballgame than spending a couple of days on the weekend or day here and there. And then seeing them how they are, and I don't know what the mum has said to them in the first place, but you can always rectify something if there's, as Karen and Faye have said, if they talk. And as you say about relationships, communication is the key. But being the man in that situation, I've heard these situations, I've been in that situation, but he has to kind of take a little step back and look and say, I've come into their space. And comparing children is never a good thing, even if it's amongst your own children. Having favorites even amongst your own children causes animosity and it causes problems. And so he has to recognize that as well. And then he has to check and say, would I like someone to talk to my daughter like this? So would I like my daughter and my ex-partner's new person to be talking to my daughter like this, or saying the things I'm saying about my daughter, because that could be happening at his daughter's house. So he has to kind of like take a step back and look and say, you know what? I love this woman. I want to be with this woman. So let's try and work this out amicably as adults, not as, because he sounds like a child cursing and arguing. If you're arguing with a 13-year-old, it doesn't bode very well. It doesn't show, because that means you've lowered yourself down to their age group. So he just needs to take a step back, put on his man's trousers, not his little boy and his ego and, oh, these kids are rude and all that, what I hear men saying. I'm saying, come on, you're the adult. How are you going to say the child is rude? Build some strategies on how to deal with other people's children. How would you want someone to deal with your daughter? And that's how you deal with other people's kids. You got to respect the child as well, because just because she's 13 or whatever the ages are, you can't go around just throwing your weight around. I'm a big man, so I got to tell them what they want. I must listen. And if they're not listening, them is rude. Nonsense. Because if someone said that to your daughter, you're going to want to go down and thump him in his mouth. So I think he needs to come back and just, and then having the wife sleep downstairs. He's out of order. He's out of order. That's out of order. That's out of order. So yeah, I'll bring some more later because I know there's more points to bring up. So I could sit here cussing him all day, but yeah, it's out of order.
Do you know what, right? Thank you for that, Theo. You brought up some really good points, and all of you have. Michelle has said early on in the show, Theo, you've got the golden mic so far, right? So we'll see if you can have that by the end of the night. Yeah? Michelle says Theo needs to get the golden mic. Guys, do let me know if you believe that any one of the speakers deserve the golden mic. Hashtag golden mic with their name next to it, please. Thank you very, very much. Anthea Lawrence says she totally agrees with Theo. Okay, there were some other comments that came up there from the Facebook user, but I don't know because we don't have the name. So those of you who are within the groups, if you look above to where the comments, where the beginning of the show is, you will see something that says StreamYard. Click that link and then we'll be able to see who you are. But because it's in the group, and it's for GDPR, we need to seek your permission so that we can see who you are. Queen H says, yes, the sleeping downstairs thing. Nah, she's not having it. So we know that this is a couple. They have been together for 5 years. They moved in together at the beginning of the lockdown. And things were going well. The children were then homeschooled. She still goes to work outside of the house, so she's not home. Her partner is working from home, so he's been at home while the children were going through the homeschooling, and that's where things began to deteriorate. Now, we know as parents, actually, we know as children, because we were not born big. We know as young people, I'll say that you might not know this, you might not have had this experience, but certainly when I was growing up, we could not go into the cupboard every 5 minutes. My parents would have something to say about that. Yeah? If we want biscuit, yes, we can have it, but you can't eat out the whole pack of biscuits the one time, right? So we know how it works. So when children are at home, we know that we have to shop more, right? Because we've been locked up in our homes. So the shopping bill, even though other bills may have gone down, shopping bills probably gone up because we're eating more. And I think most of us can admit that our waistline is a little thicker than it was before. Okay. So one of the things that he was saying is the children are eating them out of house and hold. He said the children are rude, and made, I mean, the way that I read that is that they're quite messy. But that's an assumption on my part, because she didn't say that he says the children are messy. He just says, they're just mashing up the yard, basically. Now, they're used to their environment. It's their space. Mum's not there. They might be hungry. what have you not. Now, my thing is as Theo quite rightly brought up, how can a grown man have an argument with a 13-year-old? And so I just want to kind of go back to that. I want to go back to that because I want to know what you think, guys. Those of you who are on the chat, do you think it's acceptable for an adult to have an adult man or woman put yourself in their shoes, to have an argument with your 13-year-old child? Just put it in the chat whether or not you agree with that. Do you think that that's something that's acceptable? And don't sit on the fence and say, oh, it depends on the situation. Would you like it, yes or no? We're not sitting on the fence today. If that's your child and you've got a partner that's come in, would you like to know that you've come home from work, your child's upset, distressed, 13 years old, and your partner and your child are arguing? Put it on the chat. Okay, so panel members, I'm going to throw that to you. I'm going to leave Theo because Theo said already, but I'm sure you got more to add. So Faye, what do you think?
No, it's not acceptable at all. But you see now, I think this is the thing. Maybe there weren't any ground rules set before he moved in. Maybe there was not a discussion before he moved in with the children. And so I can understand, it's not acceptable, but I can understand how that can quite easily happen, because you get involved, and especially if somebody's, if you're at home working and, you're trying to work and then you got the children doing whatever they're doing around you, it can be very frustrating. I can understand how we can get embroiled in that, but it's never acceptable to have an argument with a 13-year-old. But I think there wasn't a set of ground rules established or a set of rules established before he moved in, it seems to me. I may be wrong because it's not said either way, but I think that should have been established from the beginning, and maybe we wouldn't be down this road where a grown man is having an argument with a 13-year-old, which is unacceptable.
Thanks for that, Faye. Karen, what do you think?
Well, if I'm being honest, I like to think I'm a grown woman, but I have arguments with my daughter all the time. All the time. I'm going to need to stop it. But I don't want my partner arguing with my child. I think that's like the actual bloodline privilege. I don't even like her dad arguing with her because I don't know. I just don't like it. Even though I might do it myself, I think as I give birth to her, I have a bit more rights. But honestly, I wouldn't find it acceptable at all. And I would not find it an easy decision to leave my children at that time at home with them. So I'd be interesting to know how that kind of came about and how that was accepted at the beginning. Because when my children was home during the pandemic, they were driving me crazy. But yeah, that's me. I'm their parent. And you don't want to make such a separation, like you are not their dad. But there is some sort of like unspeakable thing there. There's a kind of like a line you just shouldn't cross. And I wouldn't be happy knowing that my children were at home having it out with him, to be honest with you. I just wouldn't at all. And in regards to the eating things, yeah, Yvonne, I'm like you. Can't eat off the whole pack of biscuits and all this foolishness. They'd have specific times. As the mum, I'd be saying, if it happens one day and I hear that it's happened, but the second day, when lunch is, you don't go in the kitchen and just helping yourself. That's just not going to happen. So she's obviously not putting her foot down with the children. So there's also a little dynamic there that's not working very well.
Okay. Thank you for that, Karen. Thank you very much. I like the fact that Karen says, for herself, she argues with her daughter, but anybody else. And I think a lot of parents feel that way. It's so you bear them into the world. You can see Karen's like, yeah, here we go. Yes, Karen, golden. Okay, so Michelle is really dominating tonight. Pass that golden mic. All right. Okay, Karen's getting ready to sing the theme tune. Right. So yeah, I think that what Karen was saying is you actually hit a good spot, should I say, because most of us as parents, whether we're male or female, we're not actually going to like somebody else raising their voice to our children. I think that's a natural thing in here. I'm going to bring Theo back in because he was the one who actually brought this up. Do you have anything else to add to that, Theo?
And don't take my mic. Do not
I'm
take
cool,
my mic.
man. I can't sing, so it's all good, man. I can't sing.
That's why I was on mute.
The food thing, that's normal, man. If there's a problem, don't buy the biscuits then. Simple. Or hide them. The food thing, I got 2 teenage boys. They're going to eat out the food. If I don't want them to eat out the food, I'll either hide it or I just don't buy it. Simple. You know, that's an easy argument. If you're getting vexed about that, then that's a pointless. The kids, they're going to eat. They're at home all day. You got to remember, last year, the lockdown, you couldn't even go outside. So you're stuck in your house. There was nowhere to go. You couldn't go anywhere. You're stuck in the house. So they're going to eat. They're bored. When people are bored, we eat. Adults, we do the same thing. We're bored, we eat. Packet of crisps, biscuits, chocolate, whatever. Karen, I've seen you, man. I've seen you. You most really got some snacks down the side. That's why you keep turning the camera off.
I was eating pizza.
There you go. See? And look at the time. 10:30, still eating. So it's all
I was having an argument with my daughter. So
there you go. See?
So there you go.
But in terms of as I said, he's the grown man in the situation. He's the man. He's the adult in the situation. And he's got a daughter. So he's got to look at it and say, look at her like his daughter. Treat her like they're his children. Because if they're children, you speak to them properly, respectfully, they will do what he wants them to do. But if you're going at them and cussing them and putting them down, it's like any child. They're going to get your back up. They're going to get your back up. They're going to get your back up. And the fact that you're not their dad, that makes it even worse. I'm going to say, if you're going to get my back up, I'm going to say the same thing. You're not my dad. And what? What's he going to do? I see someone saying the kids can be rude. Kids only can be rude if you allow them to be rude. Irrespective of who child it is. If you put your child in my care, I give them boundaries. When you cross the boundaries, I'm going to discipline them like I discipline my own child. Depending on the age, stand in the corner, go and do this, whatever. Pick it up. I'm the adult. They're going to listen. They listen to school teachers, don't they? And that's not their kids. So come on. The adult's always wrong in this situation. The adult can never look for right, and he's looking for the wife, the missus, to pick sides. Come on, man. That's childish behavior. It's not fair. They said it first, and he said, and she said this, and come on, man. That's what it sounds like. Oh, and she didn't pick up the thing, and I told her to pick it up. Oh, go and talk to your daughter. Grow up, man. Put some bass in your voice. I have no sympathy for any man. I don't. You know the woman had 3 kids. You decided to move in with her, so step up, man. Don't go in and expect it's all about me. Oh, they're not listening to me. I'm working from home. It's go and find a quiet space in the house. I'm cool.
Theo has spoken, guys. You know, Theo hasn't been on for a couple of weeks because we've had the women on. But I'm telling you what. Theo's dropping it, man. He's dropping it.
Karen, it's gone.
Am I allowed to give the golden mic? Am I being biased here? No, I think you've looked at the picture as what we're looking on now. I think there was a comment by Deborah Blake. It wasn't that one. She said something. It was quite a long message. Deborah Blake has said, I'm kind of looking on the feed to see if I can see it. Don't argue with the children. They need to know authority. I have 3 children and have never had an argument with any of them because they know where the line is and not to cross it with me. Their dad, however. Debbie, exposing up your husband. But sometimes one of the parents is, one is good cop, one's bad cop, isn't it? That normally happens. You know, that normally happens. So if mum is bad cop, dad's got to be good cop. Do you know what I mean? You got to have the balance. Okay, so we know that. Did she say if there were ground rules in the house? No, that we don't know if there were. Angela has said, did she say if there were ground rules in the house? No. All we know is that they had a 5-year relationship before they moved in together at the beginning of the pandemic. And they've been together ever since. So we're talking a little while. Now, Nevado, Cato is saying, my son once told me his stepfather clipped him around the ear. I went round there and sorted it. Simples. How did you sort that out, though? Pray do tell. What was the action that you took to sort that out that made it simple?
He walks with a limp. That's what he just.
You see, the thing is now, what we have to look at is now this is a common thing. This could be a common problem or issue within relationships, because we have many blended families. Because remember, also, this is not just about her kids. This is about his child as well, because his child spends half of her time with them. So he co-parents. So he has his daughter 6 days out of every 14. Yeah. I can hear TV going on in the background. I don't know whose TV it is. Turn it off. Right. So Lolly Rand says, when the biscuit done it done, don't buy no more till next shopping, and don't buy any. And anyway, they shouldn't be eating too much sweet things. It makes them hyper and rude. Well, it depends. We use biscuits as an example. We don't know if it's biscuits. It could be crisp. It could be anything. It could be juice. It could be sweetie. It could be anything. Cake. Could be anything. But basically what he's saying is that they eat. Now, children will eat. They will eat. We know that. We were children once. We know how this works. So, I do agree. Weird. Who said that? I had to stop in my tracks. I put a knife to my stepfather straight for hitting me with a belt. He never raised his hand to me again. That was from Facebook user. We don't know who you are.
That's Mr. Perkins.
Oh, is that Carl? Hi, Carl. How you doing? And it doesn't surprise me, actually. Carol Lorraine says, yeah, that was a drop the mic. They dropped them. Yeah, that made me stop in my tracks. But I understand. Because when we were growing up, things were different as well, because our parents were more inclined to beat and slap when we were growing up. It's not so heavy now. You can't really do that and get away with it now. But we know that it has existed. And, the word abuse has been brought up in this conversation. And we're going to dip into that a little bit later. But what we do know is that this man, as her partner, has had an argument with a 13-year-old hormonal teenage girl. Right? What result would anybody expect to get from that? What result would you? 13 years old, female and hormonal, on top of it, because she's 13, on top of all of that, hormonal. What is the point? Okay, because I'm looking at the escalation of this, because prevention is better than cure. In my book, anyway. It's much better than cure. So, we know that this is what's happened. I'm going to go back to the letter and I'm going to read out a little bit more. I'm going to go back. So, for those of you who are just joining us, this is Red Letter Tuesday. The topic of the letter is You Are Not My Dad. And we've had a letter from a female who has been living with her partner for just over a year. They've been in a 5-year relationship. She has 3 kids, aged 7, 9, and 13. And he has a daughter who spends 6 days out of every 14 with them as he co-parents. Both of the the adults in the house work. She states that she is, I think she's a nurse, or she works at the hospital. That's what she says. She works at the hospital, and her partner has been working from home. So he has had the children whilst all of this pandemic has gone on. And in the midst of that, they said we split the housework 50-50. And she makes another thing here. She says, my kids have housework to do, but don't always do it properly. They're home with him in the day while they are being homeschooled, and all hell's let loose in the home. Boyfriend he complains about and hold on. He complains and tells them off because he says, 1, they're constantly eating, 2, they make a lot of mess, and 3, they cause disruption. That's the word. They're causing disruption in the house. He also says they are rude to him. Then she says his child, however, does no wrong. I'm going to stop there. Because to me, I don't know if anybody else sees this, but to me, there seems to be a little bit. See, I look at language, and the language is saying to me that there is a little bit of something going on with them. She sounds a little bit disgruntled of how he sees his child and then how he sees hers. I don't know if anybody else picks it up, but I see that. Does anybody else see that? Anybody else want to come in and say anything on that?
But that's normal, isn't it? It's because it's your child. Everyone's kind of protective over their child. Even Karen said she can argue with her daughter, but not even her own dad she likes to argue with it. So everybody's kind of protective when it comes to their children. But you can't do it blindly. You can't be blind. If your child's wrong, your child's wrong. You can't be a blind loyalty. So this guy is saying his daughter is perfect. We don't know how old his daughter is, by the way.
Well,
it doesn't say.
It does actually. Her daughter and his daughter are the same age.
Oh, okay.
And hence why the comparison, because it goes on later to say in the letter that he compares his daughter to her daughter, but to the daughter's face.
Yeah, but is his daughter doing housework when she's there?
No.
So what's he comparing it on then?
His daughter.
Just saying his daughter's an angel and she's the best thing since sliced bread. And yeah, you can't do that blindly.
Right. So parents, I'm just going to say this. I'm just going to say this out loud right now, because there is much to learn in this conversation. There are many teachable moments, and you're hearing a story, but what I want you to ask yourself is, can you find any part of this story in you? Are you being that way? Are you that type of parent? Are you in a blended kind of relationship, blended family? Are you there? And do you treat your partner's children differently from your own? Now, we know you probably will because they're your own children, but do you make it significantly noticeable that you treat them different? Because if you do, this conversation here is to prick you right on your bottom. Yes, to wake you up and say, come on, be aware of your behavior. Teachable moments. This is all about information. It's great stuff, but it's teachable moments. Right. So Facebook user says, I have a stepdaughter. I've never disciplined her. It's been a few decades and she's now in her 30s and we're best friends. We talk every day because I left all the discipline to her biological father. Good for you. Good for you. So you were like the big friend in the household. That's cool. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to go onto YouTube. We've got I am Natural Mystic says, my dad tried that, called me to wash dishes while I was doing house homework, ended up in a fight, a broom, and a knockout punch. He realized I was not the domestic type. Oh.
Wow.
Wow, thank you for your honesty. Oh, red flag, red flag. Man needs a time out. They both need to be realistic about their parenting. It's a biological father. Is the biological father in the picture? Yes, the biological father is in the picture. He has his children every other weekend. Every other weekend. So she did make a point of saying that her ex-husband was not the best husband, but he is a good dad. She did say that. Right. Lolly Lorraine says that's not very fair. Can you go back for that one for me? Is that Lolly Lorraine? It's not fair. He should not compare the children at all. It's a hard one to say that. Realistically, it's a really hard one to say that. Human beings being human beings, it's very difficult to say that. Right. Navana says, in any relationship, no matter how your spouse or children are, there is a level of respect that needs to be advised. In every relationship, there is a journey. Absolutely. There is an absolute journey, and there has to be a level of respect. This man is saying that her children don't respect him. They've got no manners. They're rude. They don't have no bratopsy. That's my word, by the way. That's not their word. But basically, that's what he is saying. That they don't have no bratopsy. They're running ragged in the house. They're yamming out all the food. They're carrying on bad. They're carrying on like scavengers. You see how people can stretch the truth now? Because she never said that. But this is what I'm reading. Right? This is what I'm reading, because right at the very end of the letter, I don't know if you guys clocked what she said right at the end of the letter. Michelle brought that up so quick. She did on the thread. She said something really language. She said, I'm going to go there because we're in the first hour. Right at the very end of the letter, she said, I love my partner. I love my kids. I need some advice. I do not want my kids mistreated. And that was actually in capital letters. And I will not tolerate them being disrespectful to him. I want you to think about that statement. Think about that statement and think about what that means to you. Right, so let's go to I'm going to go back to the panel and see if the panel have got anything else they want to add to this. Now, I know mum and partner should be watching because every time I do get a red letter, I do let them know that it will be today. So if they're not watching it now, they will be watching it on the replay. So they will be going back and they will be getting some nuggets from us and thinking about what this is about for them. So, panel.
Well, I'm going to come in and say there was two things that I was thinking about. One, when the other daughter comes over, is she there on the weekends when her kids are there? And if because she should be really, it shouldn't be like that she comes over when the kids are with their dad. It should be when they're all together.
Mm-hmm.
And when she does come over, does she slot in to the weekend schedule? Because that's when most kids do chores and stuff. So if she's coming to spend the weekend and then she's not doing the chores, then straight away there's a disparity there. There's a disparity there. And then, that would help breed resentment. I think the mum is also feeling a bit hard done by, because when somebody else tells you that your children aren't up to a certain standard, you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody minds when the comparison is, oh, your children are so smart. I wish my children had as much get up and go as your children. Nobody doesn't mind that. Nobody minds when the comparison is a positive one. So to me, I don't totally go against the notion that there may be a discussion between the adults in regards to what the differences are between the two sets of kids, because they have been brought up differently. So that's a conversation that she should have been having with them, with the man anyway, because there is going to be a difference between them and things aren't going to be the same. And maybe the year in lockdown is not the best time to say that this is how things are going to be when things go back to quote unquote normal, because it's a stressful situation anyway. Probably not the best time to start thinking that bad behavior is something that's a regular occurrence, if you see what I'm saying.
I do, because, and I think the point that you brought up is really key. The fact that we are in this pandemic is very unusual. We have never been in this situation before, and so as much as, you know, our children have to adjust, so do we, and it has been a massive adjustment. Many young people have struggled with their mental health, as have adults, in this situation. So I think we have to be a little bit more understanding, especially as adults. I think I actually give people more of a chance now than I have ever done, because of the fact that mental health really does, not to say it didn't exist before, but it's really more prevalent now, how people handle situations. Young people are not used to being in their houses all the time, not being able to see their friends and all of those kinds of things. As well as, you know, your parents are not able to go to work. I mean, the lady in this case, it works at a hospital, so her work would carry on as normal, whereas her partner now has been reduced to working at home, whereas he would normally be in an office or working somewhere else. He's now working from home. And from my own perspective, if I was allowed to say, from somebody that's very energetic and used to being out on the road, seeing clients and doing all of those things, speaking and doing all those things on a big stage and all that, to having to do it now from this room here, because this is the office, it has been a real transition for me. And it's not been an easy transition to do that. Mindset has played, or should I say, mindset has been a crucial part of that. And if you don't get your mindset right, then it is going to have an impact. And then how you then communicate with others has an impact on them also. And I feel like, going back to what Theo was saying about, you know, the argument with the 13-year-old, that's the first one. But don't forget, there was an argument with the 9-year-old as well, right? So my question is how affected is his mental health? The man, the partner, is he going out in the daytime? You know, is he going for walks? Because I know you'll see me walking. May I forgot for walking? May I for walk? Just to change the scenery. So is he doing those things? Because if he's not, this could have an impact on their relationship. This could have an impact on the relationship he has with the children. It could have an impact on many things, because when you're inside and you're hearing all these different noises going on, the children they're running up and down. There's 3 of them, don't forget. And sometimes every other week, there's 4 of them. So 1 week is 3 and 1 week is 4. And so all of that, they're teenagers, young children running around doing their thing. He's working. So how is his mental health? And so for the couple who'll be watching this, my question is, how is his mental health and what are you doing to help that? Yeah. Right. It says, I am Naturalistic says, how do these children act at school? Do they have mentoring or counselling, as lockdown has affected children and adults mentally, as I was just saying? It doesn't say whether the children are having any form of counselling or anything like that. But what it does say is that he has argued with 2 children. And for me, that's a concern. Theo, you want to come in?
I think he hasn't. I don't think he's, obviously, because as Karen said, the lockdown is not the right time to be moving in with somebody and then taking on the children. He's got 1 child, so he's not used to having more than 1 child around him. That's a big difference to having from 1 to 3. That's a lot of children, and especially at a young age as well.
Sometimes
and
4.
And sometimes 4. And he's got, what is there, 2 boys, or is it 1 girl and 2 girls.
It's
and
2
1 boy.
girls, 1 boy, and he's got a girl. So
Yeah.
it's 2 of each.
Yeah, so there's a lot
And
of
it's
that's a
4.
lot of running around, noise, stuck in the house, and he's not used to it. And as you said, he's used to be going out to work, so now you're stuck. So that adjustment will affect anybody, you know. And
Absolutely. My
will
question,
affect
I
everybody.
do have a question for the couple, and I know they can't answer it now, or they might do. They might send me a text. If you're watching, send me a text. My question to you is: did you move in with each other so you could have sex? I'm just asking.
Well, he says, so the pum pum police went and stopped them.
That's what
Is that
do you
you're
know what? I
saying?
thought that in my head, Yvonne. I thought that in my head. Because it seems to me there wasn't a discussion. I mean,
As I
that
said, there
it
wasn't a
seems to
discussion
me
at the start.
it just happened.
Mm.
So the thing is, none of us knew what was going to happen when lockdown happened. We didn't know what that was going to look like. It was a whole new thing that none of us would have anticipated. And all the points are valid with regards to him, the guy being going out to an office, having a different kind of routine, and coming home to the children. And it'd be interesting, now that we've come out of some semi-lockdown and the children are now at school, how that has changed, or if that's changed, or whether they're still having the same issues now that they would have been having last year. So that's a question I'd like to ask. The other thing is, moving forward, they need to go back to basics. They need to go back to the basics that they probably should have done from the beginning, and have those conversations. What does your discipline look like? What does my discipline look like? How are we going to now move forward, disciplining the children? And if there's an issue, who's responsible for that? Because and let the children know who's responsible for that, because that's part of it. He's just come in, he's just moved in. These children have had, I don't know how long, well, they've been together for 5 years. So obviously the guy's just been coming on a weekend, or coming sporadically, or whatever the situation is. So they've been able to get used to that, and it's never got to a situation where it's been heightened. So they probably never experienced that before. So this is a full-on situation, but it seems that there were no guidelines, there were no ground rules, there was no who's going to discipline, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. And the other thing is, it has to be consistent. So whatever they're discussing about the 3 children needs to be followed through when the partner's daughter comes into the mix, and the other children need to be seeing that. Because if they're not seeing that, that in itself is going to cause an argument. That's going to cause a problem, because the first thing they're going to say is, when your daughter comes, you don't tell her this, you don't tell her, and they're valid. That point for them is valid, and you have to take that on board. So consistency has to be the number one priority in whatever you're discussing with the children.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
that's why I said that. Yeah, and that's why I said that when the daughter comes at the weekend, she needs to somehow slot into what I would call family life. It can't be like, oh, she's here for the weekend, so she gets to eat all the snacks and watch all the movies and just have fun with that. Have fun. Everything is just fun because she's just there for the weekend. It has to be something that's very inclusive, and it's conversations that need to be had. What I would love to know is what his relationship was like with the 3 children before he actually moved in. Because if the youngest child is 7, and then the next one is 9, and then there's 13, I think even 3 years is a good while at such a young age to be able to have a good relationship with them. If they were like, 18 and 23 and 27, then I would say, no, 3 years isn't a good time because they're adults. But when you've got such young children, I think I would like to know what the relationship was with them before he actually moved in. Because It doesn't sound, on the face of it, I don't know if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound as if they've had, a good crossover or getting to know each other kind of thing. If he seems to be so shocked about the kids being, they're rude. You would have known that they was rude a year ago. You would have known that they maybe don't do their chores so good a year ago. You would have known what you see to be the negative differences between the two sets of children. So it just seems really weird to me that it's like he's discovering things about the children at this stage when it's like pretty much the worst time for this to be now coming up. And in answer to Faye, they actually did say that it's got worse since the kids have gone back to school.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't hear
got
that bit. Yeah, I
worse.
missed
Yeah.
that bit. Sorry. Yeah.
I just went back to the letter because I was, as you were talking, I was looking for that. And it says,
I missed that.
Yeah, it says, in fact, she thought
It would
that
get better.
situation would get better once the children went back to school, but in fact it's got worse. And she said it's got out of hand. And then she said the last time he said, that was when she said he'd spoken to her eldest, the 13-year-old daughter. But further down in the message, she says, just a few days ago, my partner and my middle son, who is 9, so he would have known that child from the child was age 4, the 7-year-old from the age of 2.
Yeah.
If they had brought
if
them
they had come together, right?
Because we don't know if she actually introduced the children at that stage. But she said her 9-year-old son. And she said that he has a very gentle, sensitive nature. And her partner got into an argument with this child. And the son said to her that her partner is a bully and says unkind things to him. And the son said he does not like him and that he's going to tell his dad. That's what the 9-year-old has said.
Yeah.
And she comes back and she said, my children's father is a good dad, but was a terrible husband. He used to beat me, so I ran away with my kids. He now sees them every other weekend, but I'm scared that him and my partner will clash over this.
Yeah.
See, maybe the children psychologically are seeing patterns of behaviour that they're not liking, because if she was in an abusive relationship before, with the dad, so there are patterns probably of behaviour that they possibly are seeing repeated, particularly for the middle son, and he's not liking that pattern of behaviour, so he's gonna try and stop that in its tracks because he was probably around the previous behaviours. But I think they just need to go. And maybe, has the partner got somewhere to go? Maybe there's a period of time where they just have, I don't know that this is fixable with him in the house. This is the thing at this moment. I think there needs to be some work done with all of them.
Definitely needs some work needs to be done.
Yeah, the more that I think about it, it just seems like there wasn't some sort of there's a foundation breakdown in the relationships, because the way that they're getting on, the kids and him, I don't really get a feeling that the proper foundations were laid. It's like he was running out of something and jumping into this thing before everybody had a good amount of time to really get to know each other. I know that there's lots of people who say, I'm going up with somebody, I'm serious with them, but I don't introduce them to my kids. And, they're gone 6 months down the line, a year and a half, 2 years. They don't introduce them to the kids. And I think it's madness. To me, that's such a waste of time, because when the two worlds get together, will they collide? You can't wait until you fall deep in love with somebody, then to say, oh, by the way, now I think it's time to meet my kids. I think there's a way you can meet the kids way before that in a controlled environment. You don't have to jump into pockets or anything, but I would love to know what the relationship is like before, because to me, it's sounding more and more like there wasn't much interaction.
Sound like it just happened, isn't it?
Because there's some sort of prep that would happen before. If you know that you're not a stickler for rules, but you're getting into a relationship with somebody that's a stickler for rules, what do you think is going to happen when you actually live together? It's both of you have got to adjust somehow, where he's got to say, okay, I'm going to relax my OCD tendencies a bit. And then she's got to get her kids up, get herself and get her kids up to a certain level. You can't have uneven yolks in regards.
I bet the kids are not that messy. What it is the kids are at home all day. They're at home all day. So they might wash the dishes in the morning. There's going to be dishes in the afternoon.
Yes, they will.
They're at home all day.
But that's why I said that, moving in with somebody over the lockdown probably isn't the best time to judge.
Yeah.
To be able to make a judgment. And he has to make an
adjustment. And he's making adjustments to his life as well. Because look, I work from home now.
I think if he actually really did like the kids from before, if you really did like them from before, you might have a little bit more empathy for what the kids are going through.
I don't think they had doesn't sound like they had a relationship before.
No,
if he's been with them for 5 years, it doesn't sound like he's had a relationship with the kids, because he would have known them for, what the girl was, 13, so at least she was 8.
Yeah.
And 4 and 2.
They were
that's
2
a long time,
and 4.
and that's an impressionable ages.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So if you have a good relationship, I've been in that situation, and you just if he's got he's got a child as well, so it's not like he doesn't know what it's to be a dad. So you can just he could become like a stepdad. Okay, I only see them twice a week, whatever. But you can build up a relationship in that time.
Yeah, of course.
Build a nice relationship.
What were they doing in that 5 years? Yeah. Were they going out together? Were they going to? Do you know what I mean? Were they doing family things together? Because that's what's needed. If you've got children and they're going to be part of somebody else's life, as Karen said, that's an introduction lightly. So you go out to the, Natural History Museum, you go out to a theme park, you go out and do all of these different things so that they're getting used to one another and being in one another's company. Over a weekend, if he only came for a weekend or a couple of nights a week, that's not enough time to establish a proper relationship with the children, especially the children. So, I think, and then you just thrust him into this situation. It's blown up everybody's world. Of course, there's going to be conflict.
Yeah,
it's inevitable.
And then the thing is, mummy's not even there. So you've got a man in. You've gone off to work and just left him with your children to now discipline them and do all that kind of stuff. And they're looking at it and saying, "Who are you really, though? I don't really know you.
Don't really know you.
You're just in my business." So it's gonna cause problems.
Yeah,
when he's talking now, the kids are like, stop, because he's going to be talking harsh. They don't know him. They're not used to him. All of that. It's going to cause unnecessary tension, especially if it was just today's Sunday, tomorrow he moves in on Monday. Bam. Oh, he's moving in. Okay. Hi, John. And that's it. And then she's gone off to work Monday afternoon or Tuesday. She's gone to work. See you later. And he's like, I'm getting used to this working from home malarkey. I need to be on the phone or whatever it may be. You're not making too much noise. I need to be in this room, be quiet, whatever. And then
also, if he was actually only having his daughter at weekends, I mean, I would say that probably he's doing a Monday to Friday job. So he's not used to having a child. I mean, obviously he would have been going out to work and stuff. So that even makes it, more poignant that he wouldn't have a child around his workspace or around when his mind is in work mode. He would only see his daughter at weekends.
No, he sees his daughter 6 days out of 14. They co-parent. Okay. So he has her 1 week and then the mother has her for 7 days. And I don't know how that would work. I don't know if it's block or whether it's individual days, but it works out to 6 days a week that he'll have her 1 week, and then he will have her the other week, 6 weeks. It might be alternative.
Well, I don't know how it works. It just sounded like it's 3 days a week that he has her. That's all. So that's why he was saying that.
Yeah, Friday. It could be Friday, Saturday,
Sunday. Yeah. So it would be interesting to know. But really and truly, having lockdown and having kids and somebody else's kids being noisy in the background, and you're trying to work from home and all of this, it's a real stress and a real lot of tension. And then the mom, if she's out working in a hospital, that's also additional stress there, because everybody knew what the nurse. Well, I don't know if she's a nurse, but what the health service was going through at that time. Yeah, so all round, it's just stress. And I think Lolly asked about, counseling and stuff at school. That would be pretty much every child that's at school at the moment. Because it's been a hard deal for most kids that had to stay home for the last year. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Michelle, this is what I said. She's going to have her back up a bit because he's questioning her parenting.
He is.
You know, he's questioning her parenting. And she said, oh, well, his child, you know, is perfect. And that little throwaway comment, we all know nobody's child is perfect. And if it is that when the child is over, he never, ever has anything to say to the child, no, the child's definitely doing something and the child needs to be spoken to. And he's not doing it because no child is perfect.
No.
So for those 6 days a month that she comes over, there's no way that that child is totally angelic. It's that the child is doing things that possibly he would even get upset with her children about, but not saying anything to his child because, you know, it's like a holiday thing. It's like when I go to visit my mom, it's a holiday thing. We don't really get into any deep issues because you're there just for your 2-week holiday. Hey. But you don't really get into the life of what's really going on.
What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to be good dad, innit? He wants to be seen as the good dad.
Yeah.
I'm the good parent.
Yeah.
Could be.
My daughter's come round. She gets what she wants. She doesn't have to do anything. Yeah, she left their thing there, but it's okay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he's the man. He needs to grow up. But they need to have a big discussion. Him and the partner need to have a big discussion about everything, and also with the children as well.
I think a lot of blended families go through varying degrees of this situation where, you know, is a little bit of ring fencing around your own children, and it's you know,
That's
it just
normal.
happens. It happens, yeah. So I wouldn't throw this all away at the moment as a totally toxic relationship that she has to get out of. Because if we start talking like that, that means most of us really shouldn't try to work things out. Because as soon as there's a bit of conflict, we all just say, "Hey, this is toxic," and run.
No, they just need to set some boundaries and sit down and like start again, reset. Let's start again. Let's start afresh. Let's clear the air. Let's thrash out what needs to be thrashed out, and then start again. Because the kids are back at school.
Yeah, and she has to be honest with herself too.
Yeah, they all have to be honest. They all have to be honest.
No, but I mean in terms of the man that he is he a good man? Does she really feel like he's worth all of this aggro? You know, because sometimes we know that they're not right for you, but you're still trying to flog the dead horse.
True.
You know, because you think you've gone so far down this road. You know what I mean? So she needs to really be honest and think, when he speaks to my children, is it unacceptable? When I speak to him about my children, are his responses unacceptable? You know, and
also,
take it from there.
Also, what is it like when she's in the house? How is he like with the children and her in the house when everybody's at home together? What's the dynamics like? Is it still the same tension, or because he doesn't say in the letter, is there tension when everybody's there, or is it a bit more ease because she's there, or is she just carrying away? Or she just carrying away?
But does it say the 13-year-old's not talking to him or something like that?
What she says is her children, and the 13-year-old refuses to apologize. She said she refuses to apologize because he constantly compares her to his daughter, and he's always looking at the things that she does wrong and not acknowledging the things that she does right. And she said the partner is not speaking to her. I mean, this is at the time of the letter, so I don't know if things have changed by now. But her says, my partner is not speaking to me now. She's ended up sleeping downstairs as her partner thinks I need to discipline my kids. Her kids are also upset with her because she said they're hardly speaking to her, especially her daughter, as they think she puts her boyfriend before them. So she is stuck in the middle.
She has to take charge.
Do they know she's sleeping downstairs though? Because that's not the sign of somebody taking sides, his side over theirs. If they know she's sleeping downstairs, because to me that's a very definite action. When you're sleeping downstairs, you're saying that I'm not accepting your behaviour to her partner.
I don't know.
Yeah. So
And you know, the younger kids might not see it as anything. I don't know.
yeah, the 13-year-old certainly would understand that, you know, if somebody's sleeping downstairs away from their partner, then that's a definite action, isn't it? That you're taking offense to the situation. But as I've said before, you know, and actually, as Theo said before, like, why are you sleeping downstairs? Like, what is going on between the two of you now? Why you
He's not
have to
talking
be
to
sleeping
her.
downstairs? He's not talking to her, but I believe that he moved into her house. So is this not her bed?
I don't know.
So
I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I don't know whose
see,
bed
that's
is
not a
whose.
good situation. Yeah, that's
He
not a
said
good
she's
situation.
downstairs. So you know, if you put yourself in for me to listen, for me to leave my boudoir, right? I gotta be vexed till vex can't vex no more. I'm not leaving my things, you know. Whether you gotta go downstairs. Sorry, I'm having a good night's
Exactly.
sleep. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I won't be
Exactly.
downstairs. He'd be downstairs if anything.
Exactly.
And he's not speaking to me in my house, and I'm downstairs.
Yeah.
So therefore, what am I
Giving him
saying?
more
Am I?
power.
Yeah. What
Unless
giving him
it's
more
exactly
something
power.
am
that
I
they've
saying?
moved, unless it's, you know, somewhere that they've got together. We don't know. We don't know. There's an assumption that he moved in with her. I don't know. But
Oh, yeah.
it kind of reads that way, but we don't know. But she's downstairs. Whatever the situation is, she's now downstairs. So, you know, I think that this situation here, in terms of parenting and parenting other people's children and relationship, and you know, because we could actually, I mean, we've got see, I've got another letter that we could just squeeze in. We could we could just squeeze it in, but I think in terms of this and what we have witnessed today and what we know, I think one of the things that needs to happen. No, before I even go there, I'm going to ask a question. When is it the right time to introduce your children to a prospective partner or somebody that you're seeing? When is the right time? I wanted to ask that, and I want to throw that out to our keyboard warriors as well. Put it on the chat. When is the right time? A year, 6 months, 9 months? What do you think? Put it on the chat. Those of you who are on Facebook, those of you who are on YouTube, what do you think? When is the right time to introduce your children to a prospective partner? I'm going to bring the panel back in and just see what you think to that question before we move on.
As soon as you know when you're serious about that individual.
I agree. As soon as you know, you don't have to introduce him, like bring him in. He's sleeping in my bed tonight.
Exactly.
This is my man. It's not one of those situations. But there's nothing wrong with mommy having a friend.
Yeah, they can go
and
out
I always
together.
think to myself, I always think to myself, I have got guys who were friends. And I've got guys who were genuine friends, and they come to my house, I go to their house. So it could be like a situation like that where the person, you know, is introduced that way, and then eventually you could say, actually, what do you think about them? And then introduce a conversation that way. But this business about 6 months, a year, 2 years, what's the point? I don't get the point, because you spend time with this person, you think, oh, this is the person for me, and then he meets the children and they clash. It's a waste of time to me anyway. Waste.
Okay. Theo, are you saying the same? What you say?
Yes, the same. Once you know this is the person, as a guy, once you know this person, I've got, as you know, I've got 6 children. I had 4 before I met my wife. So once I know it's the right time, this is the one, because none of the other girls ever met my children because they weren't the one. And my children ain't no puppy show, so I'm gonna walk around and say, "It's my kids, it's my kids." That sends a wrong kind of message as well to your children if you're introducing them to everybody that you're going out with. So if you know this is the one and you're looking to be a long term, then you introduce them. That's when you introduce them, because you're going to be with this person anyway, so they're going to see them. You'll be with them on the weekends or whenever you're with that person. You're going to see the children are going to see and say, okay. And that's when you introduce them. There's no actual time limit. I see Lolly put 90 days. But after 90 days, you might be finished with that person. So, you know what I mean? So it could be after 2 weeks if you know what, this is the person for me. It just depends. It really just depends on the dynamics of the relationship. There isn't a time frame. But if it's 2 years down the line, then then you're kind of like you missed the boat. Because why is it taking you so long to introduce someone that you're serious about? You've been seeing her for 2 years, and oh hi, here's Daddy's new partner. New, but Daddy, we saw her last month at your house, and all this. Oh, you said she was just your friend. It don't make any sense.
Listen, I have got a tale. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I know somebody who didn't introduce their partner to their children until a year before they got married, and they'd actually been friends for 6 or 7 years before that. And even when the children's mom knew about it, apparently the children's mom was supposed to keep a secret, but nobody told the children's mom. So one day the daughter came home and said, "Mommy, blah 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 together," and the mom was just like, cleaning or something, just say yeah and just carried on like nothing's going on. And then the child just burst out crying and saying, "Well, Daddy's got her number in the phone under somebody else's name." And then when you had to say to Daddy, could you please come and talk to your daughter? I told her I'm not bothered because I knew about it 2 years earlier. And Daddy just tell the daughter, no, they're not together. And Daddy was gonna get the woman to come and say they're not together, and they'd be together for 2 years already.
Why did you do that?
Yeah, and then the children, then they were denying it until a year before they got married. And when they got engaged, the children found that they got engaged 3 or 4 months after they got engaged from another little child that was at another little dinner party thing.
This is terrible.
And then when they were going to get married, they booked the whole wedding and everything, and then asked if the kids could come to the wedding after everybody booked, and the kids couldn't go because they were going somewhere with the mom. Yeah. And then the dad said, "It's fine. They don't have to come to the wedding. We'll have a second wedding just for them."
What a crisis.
Yeah. So now the daughter's like, "I don't trust Dad because he lies."
Yeah.
Of course you don't.
Yeah.
You'll never trust him. Never ever.
And the children do not have a good relationship with the woman.
They wouldn't.
No, there would be resentfulness in that.
Yeah, and the mom wants to know how come they don't have a good relationship with the woman, considering that she has actually known them from when the son was 2 or 3 and the daughter was 6, because she only going out with the dad, innit? Not really having a relationship with the children.
Mercy.
Some people have got some really twisted ways about going about this whole relationship thing. Honestly,
they don't think.
It's crazy.
You should that should become like a play or something, man. That was
that's quite funny.
That's quite interesting.
But it's not untypical.
It's not.
What a crisis. That's right. All I can say is what a calamity for that family.
It's a head F, if you know.
Yeah.
So it's madness.
See, the reason why I ask this question, when is it the right time? I think that as adults, we got to get past this ducking and diving, because sometimes, especially, I'm going to say us women, sometimes we don't trust ourselves to make good decisions with men, right? I'm just going to say it because I know it's true. And sometimes, so we're seeing this man and then we leave it for a period of time and then we introduce him. But I think it's safer to say that it's better to introduce the person as a friend. And like you say, you don't have to be having them in your bed and all of them kind of things. Just somebody that's come around, get to know, play games, board games, whatever. Get to know and see if the children like him. The reason why I say that is because if my children don't like the person I'm with, it can't work. It can't work. They're grown now, so it's a bit different. But when they were younger, if my children didn't like the person that I was with, it couldn't work. Because it's really important that my children feel comfortable around the person that I'm with, and I want to feel comfortable. So I think it's and I think it's important to have these conversations. From my own experience, and I always throw myself under the bus, but you know, I grew up with my dad. My mother died when I was younger, and I grew up with my dad. And my dad just one day introduced me to this woman, and we were moving in, and that was the end of the conversation. And the woman actually didn't like me. She liked my dad. She loved my father, but she didn't really want the baggage that he had with him. So it was myself and my younger brother. And so it made our relationship very, very difficult, to the point where I left home at the age of 15 because of the woman. And so we have to, this is the reason why I just thought, oh, let me just throw this in. When is a good time? Because we were not introduced. My mother had died. We were not introduced. My dad disappeared. Then he came back and he said, right, we're going to go and move here. And we moved in. And this woman, but the thing is, I also remember her. This is the weirdest thing. I remember her coming to our house years ago when my mother was alive. I remembered her. I remembered her blue coat, and I remembered the wig.
The same wig from our back there, the same blue coat.
This same dry piece of wig she did up on her head.
Yeah, Dad did like it.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it? It was unbelievable.
Like the wig and the blue coat, man. I say yes, man.
Yeah.
You must have buy the coat and a wig.
And the white shoes.
And she had these what? Do you know what? That's just as a side note. We went to this wedding one day, right? My dad and she had this outfit, and you know, my dad went and brought the same outfit in a different color for me. Oh my God, it was like, oh man. Even now I can feel the pain. And she had white shoes, white peep toe shoes. Oh, and it was, she had the.
Did you have the shoes as well?
I had the shoes as well.
Are your palms sweating? Are your palms sweating?
Yeah. The anxiety is real, right? Okay. So I'm just saying, guys, for those of you who are watching, I say this and we're laughing and we're joking, but you know what? You have to understand, especially those of us who are parents, that our children have feelings, yeah? And what we do as adults has an impact on them. I can now talk to you in my 50s and tell you about a situation that happened when I probably was about 14. When I had to go to that wedding, and I had to go to that wedding, and I had to wear it, and everyone's, oh, is that your daughter? And I was like, every time they said that, I would cringe, right? She didn't like me, I didn't like her, and the relationship was never ever good. Do you know what I mean? And so it makes me wonder about this guy with the 13-year-old daughter. And the comparison, it makes me wonder, are they setting themselves up for a fall? So my recommendations here, I mean, I think that, we don't know if there was any rules established at the beginning, but there must be. When you are coming into a new relationship and there are children involved, there must be some kind of ground rules, boundaries that are there for the parents and for the children. It's really important. It's important that the children feel a part of that union. Because as Karen said, with this friend, that's up my foolishness, right? Because the children were never involved. They're never going to trust their dad. They're never gonna respect him and they will hold that for the rest of their lives, because they feel that they were not part of one of the major parts of his life and a part of his whole being, getting married. They might not have even chosen to go, but at least if he had involved them and asked them, then they couldn't look at him and say, well, dad's this or dad's that. But he didn't handle that situation.
Well, what had happened is, at first they said they didn't want to go to the wedding because it was going to be overseas. They said they didn't want to go, and then he was like, well, it's too late. But the wedding is in the summer. Well, this is January. He said it's too late for the kids to come now. And I'm like, but they're only going. It's like they're only going there, so they should be able to go. And then the mom just made sure they ended up going. The mom made sure that they went, and they went. And otherwise, what would happen? Where are your kids? Oh, the mom didn't let them come. You know how it is.
And
Had
it
to
doesn't
cover
have
her
anything
back.
to do with the mum.
Nothing
It's
to
the
do with the mum.
father. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. You see how it is, guys. We got to be on point when it comes to our kids. You know, there must be. I think that the last message was up. There must be boundaries within the relationship. There must be, and you know, and setting the things like what Faye said. I don't know what's happened to Faye.
She might have internet problems or something.
Maybe.
She's gone to poor GNT, I think.
Someone's put, I disagree. Adult relationships are not children's business. They're not. The only children's business if you're going to become serious about that person. Then it becomes a children's business. If it's just you and
I don't understand. Yeah, adult relationships are not children's business.
Yeah,
You need to
unless it's
expand on
becoming
that
serious.
a bit.
Unless it's
expand on that.
serious.
Expand on that.
Serious, then, if it's becoming serious, it's becoming children's business because they're part of you. They come along with you, as I said. They're your baggage. They're you. So it's very important. And if they don't like that person, as you said, Yvonne, it's going to cause problems. Yeah. It's going to cause real problems.
Yeah, real problems. And it's not going to go away.
And it's going to be hard for you to choose. Oh, I love this person. Oh, the kids are going to leave in a few years' time. So you're basically forcing your kids out the door for this man who might leave you in a few years' time. No, you have to. But it's important if you're going to bring somebody into your house, male or husband or boyfriend or girlfriend, you have to make your children be aware.
Yeah. Tell
them from the get-go. This is who it is. Yes, I know she used to be my friend, but you know, me and mommy are no longer together, and we're together. You know, explain to them depending on their age, age-appropriate discussion.
Absolutely,
it's important because the kids have to live with that for the rest of their lives. And if you lie to them at the get-go, one thing I know: if you lie to children, they never, ever, ever forget it.
Never.
Never ever forget it.
Never.
I bet all of us adults can remember that when our parents lied to us.
Yep.
Big lie, small lie, you remember the lie.
Absolutely.
You remembered it.
We do. Absolutely.
You can't forget it.
Yeah. I'm with you there, Theo. Because and I would talk from my own personal experience. Yeah. This is something that I could talk about all day long. And so I think that if you're not going to introduce your children, because let me say this, I've had relationships where I haven't introduced my children because I know said that's not a relationship. Oh, it's not going anywhere. It's not.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. You know who you can see a future with, and you know who you don't see a future with. But the person is very nice to take you somewhere nice and to go, you know, here and there.
Right.
But not to introduce to a certain layer of friends and your children.
No, you never get to see that, right? Yeah. Michelle says, Theo.
Michelle.
Theo takes the crown. I think I might get a couple of crowns.
You know? Yeah. Just post them to us so we can take it off and put it back on.
Put it back on. You can have it for the week.
You can make it look like I'm giving it to Theo. Theo takes it from
me. Yeah. So just going back to what I was saying, you can't, you know, you've got to act as adults and as the parent. You have to be responsible and act responsibly. And tell your children because it will come back to bite you if you don't. If you don't. Right. So Michelle says hindsight. Can we go back to that comment for me? Hi, Michelle's hindsight is 2020. We need to be mindful of our children seeing us sole parents in positive relationships. He knew she had kids, but they seem to have acted in their own interests, not in all interests. Yes, because when I read the letter, I have to admit, when I read the letter, I thought about the Pum Pum Police. I did. And, you know, go on,
and
Karen.
Also, she said that they pay for the bills 50-50 and everything. I thought that was an interesting point because it's like he's contributing to the household. So, you know, is that why you've got him in there? Because you need him to contribute to the household, you know, but you're not, you know, crossing your T's and dotting your I's if your kids aren't comfortable.
If they're not comfortable.
He might have signed up, but I don't know if he signed up to be a babysitter.
No. But circumstance has had it that way, isn't it?
Circumstances had it that way, but I don't know what the discussion was around that. Because remember, he's mostly been living by himself for how many years, because his daughters doesn't live with him. So it's obviously, before they moved in, he's obviously living by himself. So that's a big adjustment to go from by yourself to now, you know, having 3 children around you. That's a big adjustment.
It is.
And obviously he hadn't thought it out. Of course, lockdown is not what you expected. No one expected that, but he hadn't really thought it out, what it's going to look like or what it's going to be like being with 3 children in the house. When he comes home from work, even if he was come home from work, bam, there's 3 kids where he's normally used to just him chilling out, turning on the TV, whatever he normally used to do when he's by himself. Now he's got 3 kids to deal with. It's a lot. It is a lot. It's a lot. So they need to sit down and talk. They really need to sit down and talk. And if the relationship if it's not gonna go well, then they just need to part ways before it gets too messy. And then the mum and the daughter end up falling apart.
Yeah, and that's my biggest worry.
The mum can lose her children and the man and end up with nothing. So they need to talk. And if it's not going to work, if he's not comfortable, then say, okay, I'm going to move back out. Maybe they can still see each other, but not so, you know, intense.
Well, we just got a message from I Am the Natural Mystic. She said, I've been a step parent and have never had a discussion about discipline with my partner. Normally a message from the ex that I should stay in my lane.
That's the normal message.
But that's
that's the normal message.
Yeah. So, you know, I think that is the normal
That's the normal message, man. That's the normal message.
If you don't have the discussion, if you stay in your lane, if the child does something, you just
tell the mum, say, look, you picked me out of this, and that's it.
And you know, you need to talk to your child. You know, this has happened. You know, and I think as well, in terms of that discipline, I remember when my dad's wife wanted to discipline me. But her discipline was, see things these days is different. Her discipline was different. Her discipline was wash the Dutch pot. The Dutch pot was black. Wash it till it's silver.
Hey.
Yeah. So you know you'd have like steel wool. That's what I'd have, and like all, you know, like the tips of your fingers all bleeding. My hands were just bleeding all the time. And bleed, and I'd want to punch her. Seriously,
no, you want to hit her with a pot, innit?
Yeah, with the same Dutch pot. I want to lick her with it.
You should have done what Natural Mystic did.
Yeah, I should have done that, but I didn't. I left home instead. But you know, my fingernails were all around my fingers were all bleeding, and that was, you know, a horrible time. But that was the way in which she was very vindictive. So we've got Facebook user Carl P. I didn't tell my children for 18 months when I started seeing my most recent long-term partner. I didn't see it as being their business, and I knew the second my ex-wife found out I had a new partner, she would stop me from seeing the children at weekends. The second I told the children, contact stopped, so I got 18 months of contact I wouldn't have had if I had come clean from that day. Well,
that sounds like a special situation there.
It's a special situation. You got to know, you got to know your ex. You got to know who you laid down with. You got to know, because you chose them, as we all do. You know, we got to take that, and we got to just roll with the punches. So unfortunately, I'm sorry that you went through that, but you know, sometimes that's your story, innit? It's your story. As my story is my story. You didn't have your fingers stripped away by steel wool and all of them things. That's my story. So that's it. At Thea, Mama said knock you out. Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was, you know, so when we have our children, we've got to remember that what happens when we're not there, we have to be able to trust that person unequivocally. Because
Yeah.
you know, for me, I know that they came together at lockdown, but the situation, we didn't know what was going to happen, and maybe you know, partners at home watching the children because he was at home. But had they had the choice, would that have been the choice
Yeah.
for them to take?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, it would have been good, because to me it's like, okay, if you know that situation's not working within a couple of weeks,
Mm.
what would the alternative have been if he wasn't living there? How would you have managed your childcare then? You know, did he move in to look after the kids?
I don't know.
Because you're right. So for me, if he didn't move in to look after the kids, then you would have had to have sorted that situation out differently.
Well, the
So as
children
soon
would
as
have
it
gone to
wasn't,
school, wouldn't they? They would have
they
still
were
gone.
ho-
They would have had to go. No, but they
no,
had.
but what I'm saying is they're being homeschooled. It's lockdown.
Yeah.
They're being homeschooled. If he wasn't there during that time, what would she have done with those children?
But
No,
what
they
I'm
would have gone
saying
in
is,
because they were key worker kids.
they were key worker kids. They would have gone
Oh,
into
so
school.
she should have maybe just send them to school after things were breaking down and becoming so horrid at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. So, you know, for the couple who have contacted us with this story, you know, one of the things, and the key point, Karen, there you go, it's coming, here it is. Oh, you need one more to catch Theo. Theo's talking the lead. But
You keep him tally.
yeah, this thing of the key workers, they could have used that. That could have been something that may have helped them to this point of where the relationship is now. So that could have been something. Alison J says, I've been a step parent and spoke with my ex-husband, told him I would never do anything to harm his son, but I would not tolerate him being rude, and we had to be united in front of him and talk about things. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I've got here in terms of when you're coming together is actually having all parents as part of the conversation. All. So her ex, the father of the children, the mother of his daughter, all of them need to come together and have a conversation because they are all raising these children. That's my thing. That's my advice. Whether you get on or whether you don't, at the end of the day, these are children. And their well-being has to be paramount, has to be at the forefront. And your children must feel comfortable with whomever. So when all parents are in agreement, do you see that playing off against each other? That kind of dissipates a bit because everybody knows everybody. Everybody's accessible. But when you're cloak and dagger, or when I'm not talking to the father of my children, and this is going on, now I'm scared because I don't know if my child's going to go back, if my son's going to go back and tell his dad, that's going to cause problem. No, the dad and the man should have a relationship anyway. It doesn't have to be like they're bad buddies, but they should know each other and they should be able to converse about the children. So every person knows where they stand. Everybody know them lean because it's children, and we have to safeguard our children because again, you don't know who that person. Simeon come live with me is two different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you've got that person, he might be the greatest lover, and she starts off by saying that he supports her in everything she does, but he does not support her with those
When
children.
it comes to kids, which is a major part of your life. So what the hell? You know?
Michelle said, give yourself the mic. No.
Yeah, but I did start out by saying that she needs to have a conversation with the children's father.
Yeah.
Because that playing off dynamic does happen very, very easily. Some children can be very crafty, you know, at the end of the day, you know, and if they don't want something, they know who's the parent that's really got their ear. And if they know that the dad could come in and really stir the pot and show that man his place, then they probably will use that little tactic. But then I don't really, she said he wasn't a good husband. He was abusive. He used to beat her, but now he's a great dad. and you can't go and talk to him about this situation, then to me, he's still not a great dad. Because a great dad still needs to be able to have some sort of good ear for the mother. Because if you haven't got a good relationship with the mother,
Mm-hmm.
how is it playing out with your whole your good dad title? I don't see how you could be a good dad if you've not got a decent enough relationship with the mom, because the communication there is an issue, you know? So if she means he's a good dad because yes, he takes them and blah, blah, but there's some sort of still abusive element in there
Yeah, she's
that is
scared of
not
him.
good. Yeah.
You can see how she writes. I would
Hmm.
say that she sounds like she's scared of the husband, because she said she also said she ran away with the children.
With the
So
kids.
yeah.
Yeah. So something
Yes.
had to happen there for her then, as an abused woman, to then let her ex have the kids. Because you would
Mhm.
be like, I'm an abused woman. I don't want my ex to see the kids.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
So if you get to the point where something had to happen there for him to then start having access to the children, but then for him to actually be a good dad, whatever it is that went on between the two of them has to be sorted out. Because this situation could get much worse, because we're saying that the 13-year-old isn't talking to the man, but she might be going back and talking to her dad and saying X, Y, and Z is going on. Then next minute, poof, here comes the abuse straight back. You know, so there's
Yeah.
something there that's not right.
There's not. The thing is what is a definition of a good dad? What is her definition of
Yeah.
a good dad? What does that look like to her? And that might just mean, as you said, that he has them every other weekend, he buys them stuff, and that might be her definition. But whereas where she's concerned, there is nothing there, and she lives in fear. Maybe it comes across because it's, she's like saying, they might start clashing with one another.
Yeah.
I think, for this couple, my advice to them would be, I think I would advise them, one, to establish some ground rules. I think, as everybody has said on the panel tonight, communication is key. And we know this. We've been saying this from the beginning of the show, from the beginning when we've been doing this for over a year now. And I think that communication, they have to, I think it was Theo that said, strip it back, go back to basics, strip it back, have a conversation, and really start to look at what they mean by, what does discipline mean to her? What does discipline mean to him? What does communication mean to both of them? When your daughter comes, what are your expectations of your daughter? What are your expectations of my children, my sons, my two sons and my daughter? He has an expectation of her daughter that the daughter cannot live up to, quite clearly, because they've had an argument. And also, he's had an expectation of the sensitive son. And because I wondered why she would write that. I wondered why.
She's writing that because she's trying to say, this little boy, he don't have no sign of rubber with people. You know, everywhere he goes, he's a nice boy. He don't get in no arguments or any tiffs with people. But, they've had it.
That's
and
what I
if
think.
They've had it, then ding, 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 ding.
And
Alarm
he's
bells
unkind. He's unkind to that boy.
And bully.
And the boy said he's a bully and calls him names.
What's these names that he's calling the boy?
They don't say. But that made my ears prick up, you see, because language, again, why would you say my son is sensitive? And then he's now saying he's calling him names and he's a bully. So the young boy feels like he's been bullied.
Yeah.
And the man is saying things. So my thing is, what I would suggest is that they both take a step back. I do think that they both need to, especially the young man, the man who's in the relationship, he needs to maybe have some kind of support, some kind of counseling, because I think we could be wrong. We're reading words. We're not having a conversation to hear the tone of voice and all of those things. But it does sound like there is something going on with him. To have two arguments with children, it might be something or nothing, but I would really kind of want to explore how he really feels.
He sounds fed up. He just sounds fed up because his world's been flipped upside down.
But everyone's has.
It's everyone's been done.
He flipped it. He's a
been-
part of flipping it. So
No. He's come into a situation, as I said, he was a single man living by himself more than likely. And then he's come into an environment where there's 3 children 24/7 in a house. He's not used to that. That's a big ask to take on and become their dad now, or babysitter, or whatever it may be. That's a lot. So he sounds fed up. And it's coming out now to where he's becoming resentful. He sounds very resentful towards the children. So that's why you'd be bullying a 9-year-old boy and arguing with a 13-year-old girl, because he's resentful because they're just always around. Always around. He's got no space. And it's not like he could go to go out and pub or go party or go somewhere what he would normally do. Go to the gym maybe. I don't know what he did for relaxation. He's stuck in a house for 6, 7, 8 months, whatever it was, with 3 children, and none of them are his.
But that's choice. He chose the woman.
I know he chose the woman, but he didn't choose lockdown.
No, he didn't choose lockdown. But none of us did.
Lockdown was hard for people that had their own kids in the house, much less 3 other people's 3 children that's not even yours.
And you're trying to work.
And you're trying to work. We don't know what kind of work he does, and be around and make sure they're doing their work and whatever else they need to be doing. It's a lot to take on board. He just sounds like he's fed up. So they need to have a real conversation about where they're going to go from here forward. Because now lockdown is coming to an end. Are we going to, have a conversation, talk about what's happened and clear the air? Because the air needs to clear very quickly.
It does, because she needs to move back in her bedroom.
She shouldn't even have moved out.
I know. I don't get that. I don't understand that. But
if you don't want to chat to her, just fart on him and go to sleep. What's the problem?
Yeah, that's it. Just move over.
Why you open your eyes like that, Karen, like you don't fart and go to sleep same way?
I feel like I'm going to have to leave this studio.
Right.
And we don't say the F word in my house.
Okay, you pass wind then. Oh, you don't. You pass wind.
Oh dear.
You're gonna mute, Karen.
I wouldn't send my grandson around.
I was swearing.
Is it?
Oh, you're swearing.
Okay. Yeah, on silent. Yeah. Okay, so we have actually come really to the end of the show. And it's, there was another letter, but I really wanted to get this and unpick this, because I think that there's a lot of people who have this issue in their relationships. And I want to just advise those who are thinking about joining their unions. And, we know that there's a lot of blended families. Relationships are not working like they used to do back in the day. In our parents' time, they would work it and they would suffer in silence and they would stay together forever. Whereas now, people are not doing that. They are looking for happiness. And so families are joining, are merging and are blending. And I think it's really important that before any of these blending and mergings come together, is that, you and a partner should have a really comprehensive conversation. Communicate at a high level, but also establish some rules. Establish some rules before you even get to the moving in stage. Before you get there, introduce yourselves to the children. Make sure that the children are happy, and ask them not just once. Oh, you happy? Do you like the person? Yeah, I like the person. Oh, well, he's moving in tomorrow. No. Do it, stagger it, and talk to your children. Make them a part of that process, that the person is going to be moving in. The person is going to be a part of your life and their life, and reassure them that if there's anything, that they can always come and talk to you. I think that open door with your kids is so important. Next thing, discuss discipline. Who disciplines who? Because you're coming into my house, you're not raising your voice to my child. Sorry, you're just not doing that. No, you're not doing that. But we can work something out. But and certainly, especially if you're a big 6-foot tree built like, you know, a sturdy man. Don't be coming and barking after my children. Sorry, because you can't even bark after me because I don't like that. Sorry. Don't raise your voice to me. Sorry. We're not doing that. We're adults. We can talk things through. We do not have, because if you're raising your voice at me and that's making my heart rate go fast and I'm getting scared as an adult, how are my children going to feel? Not having it. I'll cut your balls while you're sleeping. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so who's responsible for discipline and having consistent discipline? Meaning that if they have their children and you have yours, discipline is the same across the board. You can't have one rule for one and another rule for another. That can't work in any household. It will never, ever, ever work. And finally, just to say that, you know, if things blow up, always go back to basics, go back to the reset the button, go back and work things out backwards and with no blame. This is not the blame. If you want your relationship to work, take the blame out. Take responsibility for your own action. Each one of you take responsibility for your own actions and move forward. That is the advice. And that's really, and also I'm just going to bring up quickly, because we're right on the edge of time. If your child says to you that your partner has abused them, listen. That's all I'm saying. Because for far too many years, there have been blended families or mothers with different men, and the child has gone to the mother and said, and it's more often the mother, I'm just going to say, and has said, this one is troubling me, or this one's done this, and the mother has ignored. Never, ever you dare. If you can hear the sound of my voice, I'm talking to every single person. If you ever come across that situation, it is your duty, your responsibility to listen and to act on what that child has said. It is your responsibility to safeguard that child. And if you know of somebody, it's still your responsibility to speak it and make sure that that child is safe. The word abuse came up, so I did feel that I just needed to say that, because I'm just saying this to you. If a child has been abused and you know, and you say nothing, you still have a duty of care. You still have it, and you can be pulled up and go to prison for that. There's a law that says you can. Right.
And you never, that relationship between you and the parent and the child will never be mended. The child will always hate you.
Yeah. You got to speak up. You got to speak up. If it's beating, whatever abuse it is, you have a duty of care to report it. And on that note, we'll be back next week. We're going to have another red letter next week. And then the following week, we're going to bring the men and the women together for the last final, the hidden issue. We're working it out how it might be because we kind of think it might go over the 2 hours. So we're like looking
that will go over 2 hours, man.
We're looking at two shows then.
Yeah, that's going to definitely go over 2 hours.
We're not doing a long thing. Sorry. I'm not doing a long thing after midnight. No. We're finishing on time, starting on time and finishing on time. But yes, next week we have another red letter. And the title of it, I can tell you the title of it because we were gonna look at it today. The title of that is Am I an Idiot? That's what it says. Am I an idiot?
I feel like saying yes.
When you're asking it, that means yes, you are.
Am I an idiot? Does he? Does he think I'm an idiot? That's what it should say. But
I'm still saying probably.
Yes, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're
Probably
asking
does
it,
think you're an
yes,
idiot.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, man. So we'll be back here next week with another red letter. We'll probably do two because the letters are coming in fast and thick. Guys, if you have any questions, just bring it on. Send me, DM me. You've got my details. Send it over and we will try our best. So I do hope that what we have said today, the key points for this family, we do hope that it helps, and we hope that they will get in touch and hopefully they'll still be together and they'll be able to lend.
We might have to like add a little agony aunt stroke uncle element to this whole thing, you know. Because if
Yeah.
we've got too many letters and we can't get through them, maybe we could do it so the panel could just have a look at them over the week and maybe come back to you. So that if we can't do it on the show, you still get an answer from the panel.
Still get an answer. That is a consideration. That is a consideration. Right, guys, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you for watching. Do remember to share, like, and subscribe to YouTube. Also to Facebook. Support. Share these recordings. It doesn't matter if it's not this week's recording, but do remember to share it with all your friends. Get people out there talking. Let people know that we are helping people in their relationships. And we will be doing a show. I've got a financial advisor that's coming in to talk about your setting things up in the element in terms of death and critical illness and all of that kind of thing, and why it's really important. So we are going to be doing relationship with finances as well. So guys, we're out of here. We'll be back next week between the hours of 10 and midnight.
Theo's back now.
Bye. Say ciao for now. See you later, guys.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Good night.
Ciao.
Listeners.